It's strictly our weekly financial literacy conversations, and we came to a point of discussing the 1,000 ways of building wealth. So the 1,000 ways to build wealth are a daily conversation for us here, but you can find even more information in many other places online where you read anything from books or anything. So get ready for an amazing 1 hour of a conversation. Tap the screen and share this live as much as you can. And then we'll also ask everyone to remind us of what we discussed last week. We discussed way number 6 to way number 11, number 10. And typically we are going to continue talking about the 1,000 ways to build wealth. And this is a space that should help everyone that wants to get out of poverty and live healthier and happier for the rest of their lives. So if you want to live happier, you want to live healthier, if you want to live in a better way than you ever imagined or than whatever you ever saw in your life growing, it is your time now to actually begin activating that life. That life of becoming wealthy, that life of becoming powerful is activated intentionally. It is not activated by people joking around. Never. It is activated by people being intentional about doing well and doing better. It is activated by us making very important choices. Choices like ensuring that at the end of the day, for everything you do, you choose yourself and ensure that you do those things and make you a better human being. Today, the ways are very human for the matter of everyone is confidence. Today, way number 11 to way number 15 are typically about us really actually becoming some people. Away from the choices like way number 1 where we talk about start a business, away from all the other things, away from all those other things, today the choices or the ways that we're talking about are typically talking about ensuring we actually start becoming some people. Of course, starting a business means you become an entrepreneur. Of course, learning a skill means you become that person. So one day I remember someone asked me for my CV. I had never done one. So someone asked me for a CV and tell them about my competencies. Oh my God. I'm sure they will never ask for one again. So when I went down with Master George Kasacha to write about my competencies, I realized that my competencies couldn't be filled within about 10 pages. I wrote everything I've ever done, everything I know I can do 50%. So by the end of the day, the person asked me, do you do all these things? But all of them are around technology, computer science, and the likes. So learning a new skill is becoming something else. What do you want to become? So ladies and gentlemen, our conversations on the 1,000 ways to build wealth might be a lifetime job for all of us. We might conversate about the 1,000 ways today, then within about 1 year we might be done with round 1, then we shall go back to way number 1. Someone will join us on week 50 when we have done 150 of them. Many of those things are going to be happening all the time. What you should be very sure of is you should tighten your seatbelt. And then these ways that we are going to be discussing every single day are going to become more realistically discussed. Not just as they are presented in our book, but also in a reality scenario. So someone should be able to tell us from a user point of view. When we talk about way number 1, tell us in the comment section. Ask to be put up on the panel and tell us your view about what you think about this something. So these ways are supposed to be an inspiration, not a motivation, like motivational speakers tell you that I started with 1 egg that was boiled and then I built this entire farm. Of course, boiled egg, okay, it can lead you to one way of building a farm, but it can be very unrealistic to many people. Why? Because the natural journey of someone building wealth in a channel of farming is having an egg that can be hatched and have a chick that becomes a hen, It then lays eggs. Before you know, years later, you have thousands of them. That is the natural way. So when you tell someone and tell them that, oh, I started with one boiled egg, tell them the path. Tell them that this boiled egg is the one I sold and got money, then bought two others, sold them. Then the next day, I convinced the person who was selling them to give me 10, and then I sold them and paid the money later. Before I knew, like I'm going to tell you something today. I'm going to tell you like one story of one of the things I ever did in my life earlier in the days. So I remember as we begin talking about 1000 ways to build wealth and talk about way number 11, which is typically become a long life learner. Way number 11 of the 1000 ways to build wealth. CEO Elowe, you are most welcome. Let me invite you as well to join the panel. Please just join and be muted. We might ask you questions sooner, so I've sent you an invite. So ladies and gentlemen, our way number 11 of the 1000 ways to build wealth is become a lifelong learner. What is becoming a lifelong learner mean? What does it mean when you hear someone tell you become a lifelong learner? So some people, I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting people who spend time and studied, got doctorates, got master's degrees, got their degrees and whatever. But I was privileged to work in spaces of people who are very much educated in my early days. I remember the first time I was teaching in Makerere, I was not even qualified with a degree, but I was teaching because I had skills that many people didn't have for the time in computer engineering. And we were surrounded by people who have doctorates, people who are professors, by every standard, highly educated, highly respected. But then these people had taken away, many of them had taken away the chance for them to be lifelong learners. Many of them were so full of themselves. They know so much. They knew maybe they are computing, maybe they knew their social science, maybe they knew their social work or humanity. Of course, these ones exclude Dr. Singwire and Dr. Susan. At least I know very well. Any day, any time, they always wanted to learn something and ask you, how do we go about this? But I remember very many times that literally everyone who was a doctor, a professor, you could hardly have to advise them about literally anything. You come and tell doctor, oh, this is supposed to be done this way. They don't want to learn that. Or you need this skill because one day I may not be able to help you with this. So I remember how we used to trek around computer labs trying to repair computers that had no problem, about how professors would turn off their computers and then someone plugs it off and then they think it is spoiled and then they have to carry it. I remember how so many things actually did resonate with learning, becoming a lifelong learner. For me today, as we speak about the 1000 ways to build wealth and specifically our way number 11. And why did they resonate with that is, yes, there is going to be education. There is going to be a mathematician like Professor Roman Indest. I mean, the whole Europe might look for the same person. The whole of Germany might always want to work with this person because he's a mathematician. But it doesn't qualify me to be the best historian by being the best mathematician. Now, in business, someone has told me, and I have witnessed it firsthand for the very many years I've been doing business, especially at HiPipo, that I know nothing about a business I've never started. I know nothing, and I can assure you as well that is watching us, you know nothing about a business you've never started. Nick, Doreen, Cool Cats, Derek Events, Barbara Piri, Mr. CEO Elowe, Victor Camenyo, everyone, you know nothing about the business you've never started. And you know why you know nothing? Because you don't even know that doctors are filled before you have a hospital, for example. You don't know anything, I'm telling you, yeah? You know nothing about things like that. You don't know that lawyers have their ways around stuff until when you actually, but if you are not a lawyer, you never start a law firm, so you never know how they go around stuff. You don't know how teachers will do some funny things. Just of course, sometimes it's because the conditions are really bad. For some, it is because it has become a habit. Yeah. So one day, someone will tell you, "Oh, start a business," and we are the ones who are telling you that the way number one of the 1000 ways to build wealth is actually start a business. which is true, and I'll tell you any day, any time, even 100 years from now, because I believe I might be still alive, that way number one is start a business. Why? Because when you start a business, you now have a chance to learn things that you would naturally refuse to learn because you're a professor. Because you have a PhD or 3 of them, you will naturally refuse to learn some lessons because you've not been tested by users, by clients, or by what you call the consumers or customers. Of course, they all have differences. One person is building a business-to-business model because they have contacts in 5 organizations. So it is easy for them to actually maneuver and have something around, have the first client, have the second client, and sell to them something. And now, after starting that something, like Dush Glam is saying here in the comments, when you start a business will humble you. One, naturally in Africa, businesses can make you a beggar, whether you like it or not. Now this I'm telling you from experience. Why? Even the person you least expect, when you need something from them, you have to call them and you send a proposal. For those of you who have ever engaged in conversations around marriage, you know what a proposal is. And in African setting, you even know it better, that some cultures even make people kneel for 5 kilometers, yeah? All in the name of having your equals at the end of the day. Yeah. Now business is harder. One, business is going to humble you because you're going to wake up thinking that you studied interior design, so you can do all the best interior designs until when you get a deal or a job that requires you to have just $30,000. But then in your family lineage, the person who has ever owned the biggest amount of money at once only held $10,000. And you still believe that person is the hero of your clan. And then you have not been keeping records, accounting records for your business, for the small transactions you've been making. You have no receipts for everything you've been doing. You have no proof. And then you also have a poor paying habit. For example, I know that you borrowed money from me, you didn't pay. And Nick knows you borrowed money from him, you didn't pay. Solar M7 Baby knows you took the Solar M7 kit, you didn't pay for it. Derek Events did an event for you, you didn't pay for sound. Now all the people you know also know you don't pay. So one of them actually has the $30,000 or has a contact with the bank, and they can tell them that I give him the money, they will pay. But now all of us cannot say that you will pay. Because even Dush Glam, who might be having the curtains in their business, thinks that you might not be a good person to give the money. Yeah? Now business will humble you. So, our number 11, learning to be a long life learner as one of the 1,000 ways to build wealth. One, it helps and humbles us in the easiest way. The earlier you learn that you are supposed to be a learner. Me, I learn every single day. Every time when I see Gen Zs, when I see interns, there are things I know that they know and I don't know. When I see people who are younger than us and have studied the same things we studied, I know they are being taught about frameworks that we never ever practiced, that we never interfaced with. Someone is being taught today with 2 tools. They have an AI model and they also have a lecturer. For us, many times our lecturers would dodge classes because they are supposed to teach in 5 universities. They are the same resources. Then others, for me, they were teaching me things that I know, and I didn't think it was important for me to be taught the things that I knew. At that time, I didn't want to learn something new, and that was another lesson. So, when you think you want to build wealth wholesomely, and you don't even know how it feels to be in debt for 10 million, if you don't know how to ever be sued for an issue you never expected to end up in court, then you should rather choose to become a long life learner. Thank you, Fresco Chicken. We have received the flowers. We also want the pieces of chicken on the screen, not so? Fresco Chicken. So please send the pieces of chicken on the screen and we shall be very excited. So, Fitting here says business has hampered me. Business will humble you. If business doesn't humble you anytime in your life, then I can assure you the only thing that can ever humble you is death. Believe me or not. If business doesn't humble you, and this has nothing to do with whether you are Bill Gates, it has nothing to do with whether you are Warren Buffett, wherever you are in the world, if you choose not to become a long life learner in business, then you are going to fail once and then you think you have learned it all, then you quit the business. So I was telling someone recently That, for instance, our president of Uganda has a way of treating some things in a way of like, wait and let me see if this actually are doing business. You can meet the president today in 2026. He likes your product, he likes your proposition, and then he intentionally decides to push your meeting to 2029. Yet you're meeting him in 2026. So part of your business, you wanted to get money from him and pay rent and also marry someone. You didn't tell him the truth that, you know what, Mr. President, I actually want to use part of the money to marry. It is urgent. I want to use part of the money to build a small house where I can take this friend of mine there. So you didn't say that to the president. And you know what he's thinking in his head? I want you to come back in 2029 and tell me that you're still doing the same business. Now, 3 years later, someone will call you from the office of the president and they tell you, Mrs. Fresco, you wrote a letter to the president and he has said he's going to meet you and he would want to have a report about your progress with that product that you presented. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, if you are not still doing the same business, you are not having business with the president, period. But you know why? Where number 11 of the 1000 ways to build wealth, which typically says, become a lifelong learner, if you've not practiced that. So you've not even asked someone that business is going to test me, business is going to start by failing, and someone will tell you, no, that is wrong. Some people call themselves economists or perfectionists. Some people who have stayed a lot in Europe and have managed or worked in businesses that even their great-great-grandfathers would never imagine starting, keep telling people, no, that's not how they run business, until when they start running theirs. Then they begin running reverse. I remember there is one person who always used to tell me about how I don't know how to run some things in the best way how they run things in Europe. Because part of our early days, HiPipo was incorporated in London. So the person was telling me about how, I wish I would mention his name. So one day, this person came back to Uganda. I didn't bewitch him. So when he came back to Uganda, he came and started a business. And it is even actually working very well right now. But in his first 2 years, I can't forget the day when he called me and told me, you know what, Innocent? I'm now running out of everything. I need 50,000 shillings. That is about $15. I need to stock some portion, some food to take me for the next 10 days until when my client pays me. Then he told me, I thought you were running business wrongly. I didn't even learn some things. Now I know how hard it is to run business. Not only in Uganda, even in the US, people are struggling. You should know that. So, ladies and gentlemen, our number 11, you become a lifelong learner, is an important way for us to actually make sure we build wealth. But as an important disclaimer, like we keep mentioning during our series, there is not any one way that helps you build wealth alone. So you might have to explore 20 of the 1000 ways, maybe way 1, way 50, way 720, way 908, and way 1000 are the ones that work for you. Someone else needs 100 of them. Another who is running about 10 businesses or operating in all the 7 spheres of societal influence needs to learn maybe 400 of them. So there is no one size fits all, but you can be sure when you ever take time and learn the 1000 ways to build wealth, you'll only thank all of us later, but you'll always thank God every single day. So I'll read a few of our comments here, and I will start here with Fitting, who says, I thought I was Gamite or Gumite. Who? Yeah, you are Gamite until when the business is knocking you down. And then Sora M7 says, Kumbe, you are baby elephant. And Nick here says, Fitting, does business humble tall people too? Okay, now that is okay, that is an attack, but it is okay. Sarah is tall. And then Dush Glam Sumaya says, every day I have been looking for the pronunciation of that name, Buffett Warren. Okay, you wanted to learn pronunciation of real money, so that is what you wanted. And then CEO will always says, knowledge is power. And then we have Jude Color Solutions here. Oh, okay, there's not a comment. And then Nick says yes. And then Sumba Dushglam says, become a lifelong learner. Yes, you must become one. The person Warren Buffett that I've been talking about here, and the person that I always refer to as my mentor, Bill Gates, are the best lessons that you ever learn to become a wealth person. Because up to today, Bill Gates works like he's broke. And then for you to have a business, you post about it only when you don't have money for food at home. Oh my God. Bill Gates every day makes about 5 posts on all his social platforms every single day. Whether it is Christmas, whether it is New Year's Day, whether it is his birthday. Then for us here, we wait for when the algorithm is not favoring us and we begin posting again. Jokes. Those are jokes. So well, over here will tell you that business is business, and then fitting Solar M7 baby is asking you, what did you learn? You should tell us about those lessons, ladies and gentlemen. You want to become wealthy, but then you don't want to learn new things. So how do you expect to become wealthy? Wealth has a lot with scaling, has a lot with expanding into territories, has a lot into trying new things. So when you can't try new things, not adventuring, because people who adventure go on zip liners and then they die. Some people who adventure go on that boat with a hook, and then someday it is trouble for all of us because it's just adventure. There is no one is going for business. People are going to drink. They were able to raise money to buy their white dress or whichever, and then they are okay. Business is not like that. It's not a one-way route. Business is, you are going to have to wake up. You're going to have to make choices. You have 10,000 shillings. You need to buy data. You need food. You need transport. You need to send someone some money for transport. And so all of those things are needed by one person. So you're going to have to make one choice and say, you know what, data is what makes sense for business today. The person I was going to send transport, we are going to talk on video, on WhatsApp. I'm going to work on what I have to work on. I have a laptop, I have my data, and then I'm also going to buy a Rolex of 2,000 and also boil some water about 3 liters, and I'll cut the Rolex into 4 pieces. Every liter goes with 1 piece, and I'll be okay for today. I will not die of hunger still, but I will have done what I have to do. But because it costs that you must become a lifelong partner. I mean, you must become a lifelong learner. When I say partner, still, it is what I'm thinking. Why? You must partner with wealth somehow. You must partner with becoming better with yourself. You must partner with choosing to be on the side of the wealthy, not the people who talk about the wealthy. You see, it is nice for you to wake up every single day and tell people, oh, this person is rich. What about your father? Oh, this person is wealthy. What about your mother? Oh, those people are very good. What about you? So for you are telling us about who has skills. I've spent time with someone, master, for more than 2 decades working on stuff with him. And one of the things that I actually have learned over time is you cannot tell me to stop learning. That the time when I went to Makerere, the first time when I met him, they even wanted to chase me out of the computer lab. But I knew things that they didn't know. But then I also found someone they thought actually knows so many things they don't know. So I told him, whatever you teach me, I have learned things for free for 21 years. Then by the time I ended my 3 months in Makerere, I was the one teaching almost everyone. And it was fun. But because I also made the choice of actually becoming a lifelong learner. If the long life for me in Makerere was the 4 years, by the time I left at the top of the game. Why? Everyone respected actually new stuff. I used the internet in Makerere to upload all those music videos of the artists who disrespect us sometimes, who also don't want to support us. But I use the internet every single day to grow our music industry. Not only for Uganda, to promote people like Diamond Platnumz, Red Sun, everyone around the region, the Nigerians and the likes. I was learning and I became a lifelong learner, and I used the time equitably and the resources that there was. I learned that the only way I would survive in Makerere was to make sure I teach, so that they can allow me to use the computers of Makerere University, because they're the only ones that had the internet that we can use to upload music. So I made a choice of actually becoming a lifelong learner. Every time I told people, I ended up having more access to more spaces. You go to ICT, you go to this faculty, you go to this. So today, I was reading somewhere, and I found one minister that actually taught in Makerere in 2010. And I'm coming to you, Honorable. In where? Naguru, I'm coming to you, Honorable, soon. Why? Because I just realized choosing to become a lifelong learner actually has more advantages. So for me, I was busy learning, I got opportunities. I was able to have a computer that I even called mine it. I didn't pay for it any single day, but it was reserved for the tutor to come and do preps. I had dedicated internet. I could even use it all night long. And then I taught people. Now some of them are ministers. Of course there are others, but this particular one is very well positioned right now. So we are going to enjoy the fruits of choosing to become a lifelong learner, ladies and gentlemen. That is our number 11. So someone should tell us in the comment section. Of course, there are things, thank you, Barbara. Of course, there are many things that God has enabled us to do. And in every way, it's, fitting here says that she learned to be the politest person. Yeah. And as Nick was asking whether tall people also have issues in business. Yeah, until when they fall down, that's when they learn they actually have issues. Nick here must be having his own share of the story. The important lesson here is, as we talk about the 1,000 ways to build wealth, we want every one of you here that makes time here and attends these conversations to learn things that will get you out of wanting to blame people around you. You see, you wake up every day and tell people, if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for this person, yes, people are going to do the witchcraft. Yeah? Learn something. Learn from that and know, oh, if you need prayer, then do the prayer. People are going to fight you whether you like it or not. Why? Because they're not you, even if they're your mother's children. They're not you somehow. So ladies and gentlemen, as we talk about 1,000 ways to build wealth, it is also important that as you hold that pen and paper, you also reflect on yourself. And way number 12 is, can someone guess way number 12? So way number 12 of the 1,000 ways to build wealth is, as you plan to embark on way number 11 of becoming a lifelong learner, way number 12 is invest in yourself. So someone will ask you, what have you ever invested in yourself? Ask yourself. And look at me straight in the eye as you're looking at this screen. What have you ever invested in yourself? Someone is going to tell me they bought a nice car. Okay? Another is going to tell me what have you ever invested in yourself? Yeah, having a nice meal. Someone bought a nice meal, yeah, which is also commendable. Someone else is going to tell us that they bought themselves a very nice watch. Me, I have a nice one here. I think you can see it, yeah, on the screen. It's very, very nice, and it's the only one. It's a custom one. I don't even know where it was bought from, but at least I now have one. And I have a microphone here, invested in myself. Yeah, so I can speak to you here. But what is that something you've ever invested in yourself? Away from all the things you wake up and tell yourself, let's gather as a group and go for a trip of enemies, yeah? So Dush Glamia says, could you kindly break down what lifelong learning might look like for us here? I've been breaking that down, Musumba, but I'll come back to that briefly. And then the day I chose to do leadership course, coached by, that is a very good investment. So Musumba Dush Glamia says the day she chose to do a leadership course coached by John Maxwell, she actually invested in herself. And she says the course was expensive, but I don't regret. So, ladies and gentlemen, how about if you invest in yourself? Invest in your education, invest in professional skills, invest in communication, invest in gaining some experience and personal development that helps you connect to other people in a very respectable way. You see, it is one thing me waking up as a man and saying, I am going to wake up and look very good, and then I'm going to make sure I fit in the space of ministers. So when they begin talking to me, they hear me speaking a lot of nonsense. And then they don't want to call me until when it is time for drinking. I don't think I would have invested in myself, much as it works for very many people. Yeah, but many times, so Musumba Dushgulam says, my husband Kali invests in me. I am his project. Oh yeah, of course, without a doubt. We are not talking about who invests in you right now. Investing in yourself actually can be choosing to have a good partner, and it is very much valid. Honestly, by the way, if you want to ask me, the choices of clinging around human beings who will never teach you a thing, human beings who have dreams as small as a needle, yeah, human beings who have no faith in anything, yeah, human beings because their family says they have a good reputation that doesn't help you build your next generation. You would rather invest yourself by having a husband, a wife, a partner that actually helps you think differently about yourself. Why? Because I've worked with many people who are always locked into an environment of thinking that they have made it all. Yet, if they ever went sick for a month, their family will sell everything they have. Not even their network will come through for them and say that all can help you. Their insurance has limits. That as long as they are sick, they should only be able to use up to 40 million. When it is done, they begin looking for help everywhere. And not because it's a bad choice to make, but because sometimes you might want to invest in yourself by actually making the right choice of friends, partners, network. You see, you've had that conversation of what they say, your network is your net worth. And yes, it can be your net worth in very many ways. This is one thing me telling you how I know Bill Gates, for example, and it's another Bill Gates knowing me. They're two different things. One might lead me to one thing and another leads me to another. But then them knowing me very personally might lead me to open so many doors that I would never open myself. Only God does that. Yeah? But when you invest in yourself, you find easier ways of actually having access to different things. So I keep telling people, my colleagues, that one of the best things that can ever happen to anyone is education. But I'm always also the same critic of expensive education. I am the critic of many of the systems that happen in education and the things that happen around us that I don't think are very appropriate. When I find children who are 3 years in school, who are 4 years being taken to school at 5 a.m. in the morning, I think we have a problem as parents. And even when we think a parent thinks they're investing in themselves by paying for school fees for their child, right? The child didn't ask you to give birth to them in the first place. They didn't choose for you to be their parent. They don't even have that choice. They didn't choose for you to be their mother or their father. They didn't choose for who you would choose to be their father or mother. I mean, invest in yourself so much that your children see you as the first inspiration. You see, it is always very, very disturbing, even when we think it is okay, to wake up and see everyone who tells us about their mentors, about their inspiration. Everyone tells us about people who are never their parents. They might not be alive, may their soul rest in peace. But is there something that you learned from your father that you're so proud of? I have so many I learned from my parents, for example. They invested in themselves. They went to school. Going to school is not for show off, ladies and gentlemen. Going to school should start having plans. Investing in yourself also means when you have children, you begin planning affordability. Not because you are believing less. You begin planning. Who of you were asking ourselves here a question some time back? How many of us here have ever sat down and budgeted about how much money you need to pay for each child, minimally to be in school until when they're done with university? How many of you have ever done that? And if you have ever done so, yeah, have you taken practical steps of actually learning to invest in yourself in that direction and learn, oh, it might be hard, but I have a plan that no matter how hard, I have a network that should make sure this is sorted. So you don't even have a thought of whether a child is going to be in school for 15 years or 20 years. You're not even investing a little bit in your peace of mind. The only thing you're thinking is that when it is so hard, we shall give up on everything, right? How are you going to make sure you become wealthy? Because we're not talking about survival here. we are strictly speaking about the 1000 ways to build wealth. And this entails you appreciating that you are going to make choices of wealth people. So Musumba Dushiglamia says that being here is me investing in yourself. That is the first answer I expected everyone to give us. And meanwhile, every one of us gave us what they wanted. So, HiPipo University, Jew, Solar M7 Baby says, and then Barbara PD says, I'm investing in myself by taking these lessons. Definitely, you are doing so much of investment in yourself. So, someone is investing in themselves right now. Like we are here, you're watching this video, you are watching us live, and you're investing in yourself. But then you don't want all your friends to become wealthy. you think you're going to win alone. You're not sharing this video. Your friends are going to come and make you poor. Now this you should know. If you call them your friends, if they are so dear that you tell people, oh, meet my friend, oh, my friend is very cool, oh yeah, until when they bring all their children to you and tell you, we have failed, take care of your children. Because when you are investing in yourself, you didn't even take time to share with your friends and tell them, you know what, guys, there is a space where we can all collaboratively learn about building wealth. So take time and be a part of the conversations. Learn one thing or two, and wholesomely we shall all be able to grow upwards and all become wealthy. When we say invest in yourself, sometimes we don't only mean you alone. We also mean look at your larger family, look at your parents, look at your children, look at your other close relatives that have close access to you that will come asking for school fees. Find ways and say, oh, can we sit together here and build a school as a community because we are always attending financial literacy classes? Can we save money and start a school together so that when our children have to be in school, we save, everyone pays little money and all of them have education. And then the other children we have to pay for will always have the same access to education. You are actually wisely investing in yourself. You are investing in having peace of mind. So one time I tell people that sometimes you're going to do the hardest things, investing in yourselves, like waking up and saying, let me switch off my phone and then read and then complete my exam. Because people are calling me every 15 minutes. So I cannot handle taking care of my phone calls and at the same time being able to do my exams and excel in them. That is a direct way of investing in yourself, because that time of yours that you want to keep perishably is very important for your progress. It is one of the ways to help you build wealth, and it is one of the 1000 ways to build wealth. And in essence, that element of time and investing in yourself is our way number 12, or the 1000 ways to build wealth. I hope that makes sense to all of us, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, here in our space and everywhere you are, tell me, how valuable do you think you are? So I keep telling people all the time that I'm a big deal. So tell me, ladies and gentlemen, how valuable do you think you are? Of course, God is the only one who can allow to sell you. But imagine if you are for sale, up for sale, or if they were supposed to attach a value to you commercially or financially. How valuable do you think you are? Ask yourself. Don't look at me, just ask yourself. Look at me and ask yourself, how valuable do you think you are? Ladies and gentlemen. So some people think their value is their car. Wow. And sometimes I'm like, okay. Some people think their value is their house. And I think that is very local for people. Very local, because I know Zuckerberg was worth about $45 billion and he was renting. Yeah, I remember sometime, and it's a reality, but until when it was actually $70 billion, he was renting. So I don't think anytime he woke up telling people that his value is his house. He didn't have one. But then he was running a $1 trillion company. How valuable are you, ladies and gentlemen? Do you ever ask yourself? Or you think your value is the shoes and the clothes you wear? Most of the clothes we wear are very cheap. Very, by the way. It is very hard to find someone who is dressed in clothes that are more than $1,000. Unless if fitting here has hyped the price. It is very hard. For one, like where do you even get the money from? It is very hard. So if you are there and you're dressed in clothes right now as you watch us, if you dressed in clothes that are worth more than $1,000, tell us in the comment section. You can even take for us a picture and tell us how do you do it. I am not saying that it is for you to be an economizer, to be poor. No. I am literally asking and saying, okay, you are dressed in clothes that were made for Madame Rose. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. So Dush Glam says, the money I get at the end of the month reveals my value. Okay. Still, that can't be your value. No way. So, I have a tendency that every single day in my life, I set this goal about 15 years ago, that every day of my life, whether I'm okay, like very okay, whether I'm feeling some fever, whether I am very tired, every day of my life, I'm supposed to do work that I equate to at least in the bare minimum, $1 million every day. Whether I'm being paid that money today or tomorrow or 10 years from now, or it will be paid to my great-grandchildren, I do work every day of my life that should equate to that value. Okay? So when I do that work, it doesn't mean that I get the money like now or yesterday or tomorrow. But neither does that work that I do actually equate to my value. So I am asking every one of us, how valuable are you? Okay, let me ask you, what is your ability to solve problems? And for that matter, important problems. So, if you're not able to increase your ability to solve important problems and improve your earnings, potentially through employment, through business or entrepreneurship, then chances are that you're not building your value any single day. So Mtumba Dushglam tells us here that the money she gets at the end of the month reveals her value. And I'll tell you that for me, the money I get at the end of the month, today, tomorrow, or 20 years from now, never equates to my value. Why? I actually relate more to the skills, to the ability that I have every new day to solve bigger problems. So we have conversations here with Doreen and ask ourselves, what were we able to solve today that we were not able to solve 10 years ago? We ask ourselves a question with George. How simply are we doing this and solving this problem that was very hard for us to solve even just last month? So every single week I receive a report from Grammarly. I have to mention the brand and the product. And it tells me about how many words I have been able to work with. So last week I received my week, I think it is week 16, 200 and what? I think week 200 something. And it was saying that over this time I have been able to work within the Grammarly environment on at least 148 million words. Okay? 148 million words. So, if I was supposed to be paid 1,000 shillings for each word that I have written, or $1 for each word that I would have written or I've worked with, how much money would I have made? That's $148 million, not so? Would I call that my value? Because I'm still doing stuff. But you get my concept of how valuable it is important for us to actually learn to solve new problems every single day. Because when I learn another and another, it means I am creating more value. Now, those words, 148 million words, are not what I live with all time of my life. That's not all I do. So what if I have compounded value for every single minute of the time I use to consult for people, to mentor people, to teach people? What if this video every single second that is watched is paid for $1, and then it is being watched by 1 billion people, for example, would my value be, after people watching 1,000 seconds, would it be $1 billion? Ask yourself. So ask yourself, when I ask my value, ask yourself that would your value be, your personal value, as you watch us. So you tell us, okay, if your value would be $1 billion because your content has been consumed. So one day, if our value, if the 1,000 ways to build wealth, this book and manuscript that we've been building with a team for the last 4 years, if one day it helps 1 billion people become wealthy, our value in the most minimum would be the 1 billion people times everyone is wealth. Have you made any attempts like that? So today I can come and brag about HiPipo, and I say, oh, our nominations are out, for example. No, our nomination submissions are out for the HiPipo Music Awards and Digital Impact Awards Africa. But I will wake up and tell you that every musician, including the ones who are booming right now, like King Saha today, everyone that actually has made it in the last 20 years would not have made it without HiPipo's input. So if I'm supposed to assess the value created in music, I will start by every musician who has made it. But if everyone who attends the events they have attended all this time, who follows all these musicians, is put into perspective, if every musician's follower is valued at $1, you know how much value HiPipo Music Awards would have? Try to do an assessment and see. It will be billions of dollars. But why? We created an access point to knowledge, to resources that people never allowed anyone to use. We allowed musicians, artisans, fans, everyone to learn how to use technology. And how we did is we made sure we create use cases. When I joined HiPipo, it was very hard to find someone called the managing director, a CEO who was below 48 years. It was very hard. And the 48 was the lower limit. When we started calling ourselves CEOs and moving around within town with our raincoats, people started getting the confidence of calling themselves manager. They started calling themselves station manager. They started calling themselves MD. Others called themselves things like that. And before we knew, people now familiarized with becoming CEOs. So Madam CEO Emily will be CEO of Pesajet when she's 14 years. And it is okay. Why? We have made it very easy for everyone. Invest in yourself. At least invest in yourself by building some confidence around yourself. Start by calling yourself CEO of trending, what do you call it? Trendline, yeah? And call yourself CEO of Trendline. And before we look back, after a month, you have 5 hours, 10 hours of content that have been viewed by thousands of people. You have a business you're running. You just need to multiply effort. You just need to make sure you do it every day. And before you know, the business Trendline will have a CEO. The CEO will make decisions for the business. And the business one day will be paid. Yeah? And that is how it becomes useful for you to be a part of the network of HiPipo University. That is how the extended network of HiPipo is useful. When we tell people about Digital Impact Awards Africa, we have the coolest and the most useful slogan that anyone in digital will ever have. Forget about people who say simplify life, all that effery. Yeah? Forget about all those things. Yeah? Forget about all those things. But our theme was tailored around things like the 1,000 ways to build wealth. How? Our theme helps us to become more valuable every single day. And that is why that is our way 13 of the 1,000 ways to build wealth. And you know how it helps us become more valuable? Every day when I remember that on one side we talk about including everyone, but then on our main slogan we say maximizing the digital dividend. I've never found anything as cool as that in technology. Not because it's ours. Tell me if you've ever found anything that matches it. You know why? Because every government, if there is a president who doesn't know about maximizing the digital dividend, they need to come to school today to HiPipo University. Any president in the world, and I mean to say this, if there is a minister who doesn't want to relate with something called maximizing the digital dividend in this digital era especially, then you are wasting people's time. Why? People are buying phones that they are using to take nude pictures, and that's all they are getting as value. Yet the phone brought access to information like no other time in the world. So when people tell you about the advent of the World Wide Web, they tell you about how everything that was called a library, the things that the likes of Andrew Carnegie did and created 2,070 something public libraries in America. The World Wide Web made it simpler that on top of what had been created as assets, now someone can have these books on Google Scholar. And anyone in the world can benefit in the wealth of knowledge that John Rockefeller invested in, that Bill Gates invested in, that Andrew Carnegie invested in, and then that HiPipo is investing in. Yeah? And that in every single way helps us in not only investing in ourselves as our way number 12 of the 1,000 ways to build wealth, but also it helps us in our way number 13 of becoming more valuable every day. Become more valuable. So becoming more valuable means Trendline is going to make sure they use their ecosystem to create value around Trendline every single day. It means that HiPipo is not going to stop wanting people to learn. So someone thinks that when they come to the HiPipo Music Awards and pay for their ticket, they think they're only helping us have money in their pockets. No, sometimes we are chasing those ghosts of your family that you thought you would never make it in life. We are only helping you learn that you actually can be in spaces of goodness and you belong there. It takes so much time for people to actually learn and believe in themselves. So some people are struggling with having confidence. Other people are struggling with even believing to listening to themselves. Can you imagine? But even our very own people, sometimes we have to struggle with them and push them and tell them, you're very awesome. We cannot let you stay and you don't say anything. So someone here like DJ Nick here will tell you he used to handle being on radio for 4 hours. It took him another 12 years to begin doing Trendline. Yeah? 12 years, yet he was talking on radio for 8 hours every single day. He was managing people on radio. He has never had an issue on radio that he lost money, that he mishandled funds, nothing. He has never had any issue. He has no public issues apart from issues with weather for two. Yeah. He has never had any issues like that. So someone asks you that why do you wake up one day and be the Nick that runs things and then you never wake up and quit anything for yourself? You see, I keep telling people that at HiPipo we are that only organization where all people that we work with that are partners, because none of them is an employee necessarily, every one of them has a company, every one of them has something they do. And for us it will never be a problem. So someone else who works in an organization that their father didn't build, but because of the CEO will tell me you don't know nothing about building organizations. I know about running an organization for 21 years, but in the same organization I know about building 30 others for 20 plus years. And all of them are still alive dreams. All of them grow every single day. Someone else doesn't want to wake up and become a lifelong learner. Someone doesn't want to invest in themselves. They think when they invest in bonds and the likes, they have invested in themselves. Oh, things can happen sometimes, not because it's a bad thing. Someone else doesn't want to become more valuable. They don't want to go to school. They don't want to learn from society. And then they think they are going to one day be in charge of this world of ours. No, the world has evolved. The guy you call a ghetto guy because you think they come from Katanga has a smartphone like you. Is there internet for the rich and one for the poor? Yeah. Internet is a human right as stipulated by the UN. If you didn't know, internet is a human right. So you might have a difference in speed, but we are all going to have access to the same internet. So people who want to watch pornography, some networks have blocked you from watching pornography because they don't think you should be watching it. You get. So some have actually done that intentionally. Why? They're serving audiences that have children and the likes, and they believe it is in the best interest of everyone not to actually access that. But I can assure you, that child that you think is in the ghetto, the ones you find selling tomatoes, whether in Lagos, whether in Pretoria, whether in Cairo, or Nairobi, or Dar es Salaam, or Kampala, that person you find around HiPipo Towers, that person you find around Hive Collab, actually, if you think they are ghetto boys and they have a smartphone, you are wrong. They are investing in themselves things you don't know. Platforms like TikTok are teaching us differently. We are busy here boasting around having brands, people building brands on TikTok affordably. Someone is getting 5,000 followers for less than 2 million shillings. Then one brand that makes 100 billion shillings has 22 followers on their TikTok. And then they think that they're actually going to conquer the next generation. You're joking. Someone thinks that they have built a very robust brand, but you will be on WhatsApp and be in 40 groups for a whole month, and you never hear anyone talk about that brand any single day. It's a bad joke, but you're not becoming more valuable, you're becoming less valuable. Whether on an individual level, whether on an organizational level, as long as you're not learning and keeping with not just the trends, but with the revolution that takes us further and deeper into the digital realm. So I was watching our fintech guru, our chairman, JM, talking only actually was sharing an opinion on his status, talking about people who think us who use AI are first of all taking away your jobs, and then secondly that we are going to lose it. Let me give you the good news, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't want to learn and become a lifelong learner because you think AI is backward or you think it is taking our opportunity, it has not taken any for us. It has given me an opportunity to have time to sleep that I never had in the last many years of my life. Since 2022, when AI became a public good for everyone, because I started AI first in 2008 in machine learning. People who are doing C++ were doing a bit of that. Now, I have 3 more hours every day of my life to choose whether to sleep, to watch a movie like Third Floor Pigu, to do whatever I want, or learn something more. Every day. I never had that time. Now I can sleep comfortably for my 4-5 hours or 6, depending on the day. AI, the same AI that you don't want to learn about, has enabled all of us ably tell some other person to start something. Since 2022, I have enabled more than like 1,000 people directly away from this we tell on internet. One-on-one, build businesses. Some have made good money, at least $50,000. Others are growing out of not making money and now becoming very profitable organizations. Some have raised up to $500,000 and the likes. And someone is saying they don't want to learn AI. Someone is saying they want to invest in themselves, but you're not learning AI. You see those adverts you see on the internet of telling you you should do this course of AI. Yes, many of them are very commercial, but pick the idea about why they're actually commercializing them a lot. Why are they advertising? I've never seen anything in education that has been over advertised as AI. I've never seen anything. Tell us in the comment section if you've ever seen anything. No one ever advertised medicine as something. We only admire doctors. And we still admire them. But we nowadays fear some of those who steal drugs. And that is my opinion. And I'll tell you, if someone does, I'll be like, oh, that is not what I signed up for. I thought that they were supposed to be the other person. When we were growing up, we thought every lawyer was straight. In a country like Uganda, lawyers were the MPs, they were the ministers most of the time. But we realized many of them also have very, very shady ways of dealing with life. And then you're like, okay, I have to reserve how I think about everything. So I'll tell you, we spent time, almost a year and a half, rebuilding an album called Voices of Light, for example. And then all the things we had done before were never as fine as when we decided to master the album with AI. Do everything, get your stems, get your voices, then have an AI tool to master. One take, you have a fine song. Then you walk to this producer, Nicky's friend from Muyenga. You walk to the producer, and then you find him with a girl in the studio. Then he tells you he's not working today. You are 50 years. AI is not even 50 years. It does my work in 1 hour. Then for you, you want me to take 2 weeks walking to you, coming back to do whatever you want to do. No, ladies and gentlemen. When we learn, when we become lifelong learners, life is going to be simpler for all of us. Why? These 1,000 ways to build wealth are supposed to help all of us think around our ecosystem and actually find meaningful ways that help us live differently and stop being our past and future. When you are raised in a poor family, I told you recently that it is true that when you become 30, you become the poor background. So work on not being the poor background anymore. Start something. Become a lifelong learner. Invest in yourself. Become more valuable. So I was asking all of us here about what your value is, and no one told us. And clearly, I also ask someone, have you taken time? If you are sick, we have My Doctor we keep talking about. So some people tell us, you're overyapping about My Doctor. Yeah, we started My Doctor in 2009. It was 2 of us, now we are many of us. And when we started My Doctor, the doctors didn't want to be a part of it. Our friends like Dr. Peter, they didn't want because we were doing serious things in their face, but they were doctors. But we have kept building and driving the dream of building the most amazing and the biggest digital healthcare community for Africa, because we want to make sure healthcare is not only equitable but also affordable for every person across Africa. And we also want to make sure that that gap of 1 doctor to 20,000 people is bridged easily, because no doctor wants to stay in a village. But then every doctor has a smartphone. So anyone in a village, today we're talking about more than 81% adults having smartphones in countries like Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya and the likes. Everyone should be able to access a doctor somehow. And when someone tells you, oh, go and create an account on My Doctor, make sure you are a subscribed member, make sure that you have access to a doctor one day when things are not well. You see, not being well doesn't mean you are unconscious. It doesn't mean you are dying tomorrow. Sometimes being unwell is having a condition that you don't know about but it can kill you in 3 days. Yet, a professional would have told you something you would do and save your life for the next 20 years. But because you don't want to learn a lifelong skill, you don't want to be a lifelong learner, because you don't want to invest in yourself, and because you don't want to become more valuable to yourself, having a doctor you can call your family doctor, your personal doctor, is as easy in this age and time as subscribing to a platform like My Doctor. And then say, oh, there's a doctor this, I can always run to them. And your first doctor is the platform. That's why we call it My Doctor, that anytime you have someone you call, any day, any time of our life, there will always be a doctor for you. So have you done the thing for yourself? So as we conclude on our way 13, you can read extensively about it in our book, in our manuscript. We are publishing a lot on HiPipo Money about this series and conversations of the 1,000 ways to build wealth. So our way number 13, ladies and gentlemen, is become more valuable. And way number 14 is focus on creating value. Now you get the difference between the two things. One is becoming more valuable. And I was iterating about way number 14 by telling you about whether Trendline is videos after a year, if a second is paid for this money. I was asking all of us that if we have become valuable, then how do we create value? But when we have to create value, we also have to put in that other element of focus. So many times, many people want to create value, but they never focus. I know one person we went with in school, he was much older than us. I got him a gig that would have become a lifelong gig for him because the client is my uncle. And then he had studied industrial art. I'm not going to say his name because he was Dorini's trainer in choir. So I'm not going to say his name. He knows his name. Yeah. So, but when I brought him the gig, I had to chase him like I was chasing an antelope. I had to look for him for months just to get an update to the client. He had neither become valuable himself, and neither had he created value for anyone. But he was busy bragging around and telling people about how cool he is. And that there's nothing cool about you not delivering. There's nothing cool about you not creating value. So when we hear someone here say, create more value, yeah, or focus on creating more value, we are not saying everyone should be creating videos like us, but we can tell you. Someone was telling me about Mirembe beddings recently, about how this person has created a business on internet, telling her stories, posting every single day, and selling her beddings. And then, in the same space, majority of the people who watch her never do anything like that. Yeah, including my people. Yeah, majority of them never do anything like that. But I'm mentioning that name because actually, when it was the first time I saw about her page, when I saw it in a second, I appreciated that I might not know this person, we might not come from the same walks of life, we might never have the same beliefs, but then she is working intentionally towards building wealth. I don't know whether she has built it yet by now. She might be rich right now because wealth has an element of sustainability, has an element of scale. But whoever knows that person from Uganda, search for them. They are from Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. And then check how they are trending on TikTok. Someone has 1.5 million followers on TikTok. They have invested in conversations. They have the same phone that you have, or even have a better one. They use the same time. You all have 24 hours every day. No one has stopped you from telling your story every single day. So I'm saying no one has stopped you from creating more value every single day. So when you want to create wealth, our way number 14 is focus on creating value. Those skills you learn, use them with someone who needs them. Use the skills to manage a business. You see, I'll be talking about this and then someone will be like, oh, but I actually do something. Manage the business that I can create, but then I don't have the time to focus on it every single day. You are creating value every single day. Every day when you ever solve one problem in a business that has been created by someone, like me for example, you're actually buying yourself shares in the business, directly and indirectly. Why? I truly need someone who solves the business. I mean the problems that we have. I truly need someone who knows how to sell. That when I tell you that the HiPipo Music Awards are happening on the 13th of November, we are literally saying if you have a skill that can sell 1,000 tickets, go and sell the tickets. Come and tell us, will you give me commission of 10% to sell 1,000 or 3,000 tickets? But don't come telling us to give you transport to go and sell tickets, because we shall not give you the transport. Because whoever asks for transport is actually not going to sell, and we know that. Learn and focus on creating value. So ladies and gentlemen, that's our way, number 14 of the 1,000 ways to build wealth. So if any one of you here, thank you, my boss manager, Viva Expo. And manager says learning and growing knowledge is power in investment, consultancy and technical information. That English is so much as we conclude, manager, yeah? But we appreciate the comment and thank you everyone for keeping here. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get our way number 15 this week, if you want to get it now, because it's only a few of us who have the entire manuscript, you can pay for the way number 15 for just $150. Not so. If you want our way number 15 this week, then pay $150 and you'll have the way number 15. Otherwise, we hope you are all telling everyone to tell everyone that on the 13th of November, the HiPipo Music Awards will be happening and no one is going to get a free ticket. So be sure you buy yourself one. Our tickets go for 100,000, 500,000 for VIP, and then we have tables of 3 million, and then VIP tables of 5 million, and then we have the platinum table of 10 million. Just 10 million, like just 10 million. So, and don't think we are only bragging about this. No, you should learn to be that person and you should grow to become the person who actually says just 10 million. You should not be calling people rich. Yeah. And they're not free tickets, honestly, because we know who our parents' children are. And we work with them, so they have entries. Not so. So we are not going to give you free tickets. Buy your tickets. Then you come and get inspired to become wealthy. The 1,000 ways to build wealth, you are very, very privileged and lucky that we decided that as part of our growth for everyone, we shall share about all of them free of charge. Everyone is there here. Courtesy of HiPipo University, my doctor, and of course, our mother company, HiPipo. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for keeping here. Remember to check out Voices of Light album. It's the coolest album I have listened to since my childhood. And I don't think there will be another that will not be created by us. So listen to the album. It will inspire you in very many ways. Thank you everyone that has shared and kept here. Thank you everyone that commented. We are going to have challenges with not being able to have 500,000 taps every live. Why? Because they are important metrics for TikTok to actually grow and make many people have a chance to access this information. But like I said, our way number 15 of the 1,000 ways to build wealth. If you want it this week, then you can pay for it. $150, simple. And it is not just about the money, it's about the fact that you should return here. But I will just make a recap and tell you our way number 11 is become a lifelong learner. Our way number 12 of the 1,000 ways to build wealth is invest in yourself. Our way number 13 of the 1,000 ways to build wealth is become more valuable. And our way number 14 of the 1,000 ways to build wealth is focus on creating value, ladies and gentlemen. And until next week, we thank you all for keeping here. The Digital Impact South Africa also happening on the 13th of November. So if your organization is not part of the cool organizations, we might want to tell you that, like those people who tell us, if you're working on Christmas with your boss, then change the job. But the job that took you to the village during Christmas makes you ask for transport return to town. As in, seriously, that same job that you want to keep doing. You are burning probably 240 hours of your time in the village, boasting with a new phone that you got from Makindye. Oh, where Mutasa? Yeah. Yeah. You are. As in, we should look at our ways more differently. And we should ensure we aspire for greater horizons. It is important that you dream differently. And it is important that that's something you feel with all your gut, with your body, with your mind, with your heart. You start it now. Start that business. Trendline started and it is exciting. Very exciting. I'm going to tell Sophie Tebi about the things I was telling him very soon. I'm not saying them here today. I need to save this video. So if Sophie Tebi wants me to tell her next week, she should be on our live. But give her this video and then tell her and I'm not mentioning the second name. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and until next week, see you. Thank you, everyone from all around the world, from all around the African continent. Thank you, and you remember that when you check out our 100 Days of Solar series on YouTube and every platform where you watch your videos from those series, you might have a chance to win the coolest solar kit that there is in Africa. Solar M7 is cooler than anything I've ever imagined. I don't know that Nick still has it, but I think he used it for weather. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, see you soon.
My Doctor. Reach your doctor from anywhere. We offer online medical consultation with primary care and specialty doctors. You can now call us on 0762 318 431 or 0707 448 988. My Doctor. Your health anytime, anywhere.